we have a very special guest today at our Balandur Gita course, and it's a very special session also. The topic is itself is Ekadasi Feasting on Fasting. It's a very nice topic. So I'm welcoming His Grace Sudhirgopal Prabhuji. He holds a senior leadership role in Fortune 50 organization. Actually, he is a very senior role he's doing in a Fortune 50 organization, and he did MTech Industrial Engineering and Management at IIT. He serves as a counselor many families in Bangalore. Actually, he is one of the core team member in a ISKCON Whitefield. Actually, a very special role he does actually, and he has a very in-depth knowledge, Vedic knowledge in the scriptures. Particularly, I like so much from Prabhuji about Chaitanya Charitamrita. He sings like a song, each and every sloka, and he explains so nicely. So we are very fortunate to have association with our His Grace Sudhirgopal Prabhuji. Past 11 years, he has been conducting spiritual wellness program in Bangalore, and so many hearts is transforming. So once again, I'm welcoming His Grace Sudhirgopal Prabhuji to our session. Thank you once again. Thanks, Prabhu, for coming and enlightening our new members here. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Hrivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Hrivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Munatira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Guru Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Guru Hari Bol Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Harinam Sankirtan Yajna ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So it's my honor and privilege to be amongst all the assembled devotees here in this Zoom link. I'm very, very, very thankful to His Grace Kartikeya Prabhu and the whole Belandur team for giving me an opportunity to share some glories of the Lord. So whatever we are speaking, it's all because of the causeless mercy and the blessings of our Acharyas. And the most importantly, it's because of the divine blessings of Srila Prabhupada, who is our founder Acharya. Because of him, we are able to understand this divine process of Krishna consciousness in a proper way. So taking shelter and offering our full obeisances at his lotus feet, and also by begging at the shelter of all our Guru Parampara, would like to start something. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuro Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuro Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschat Desatarini Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be discussing one of the limbs of our devotional service. It's called Ekadasi Upavasa. So I understand there are so many of you who have been here for some time, for a couple of years. And I think but most of you, I believe, have joined our Gita course over 5 months back, have already attended more than 15 weeks of sessions conducted and facilitated by our dear friend and devotee, His Grace Kartikeya Prabhu. And I'm really, really encouraged and inspired to see how our Kartikeya Prabhu is really cultivating, such a nice community, such a nice congregation by his sincere endeavor to please our Guru and Gauranga. So with his order, I have come here to speak something. So today we'll be discussing on this Ekadasi. So yes, it's I think we're talking about fasting. But I would like to inform and share everybody that our process is all about feasting. Our process, our Krishna conscious movement is not a starvation movement or is not a fasting movement. Prabhupada says it is a feasting movement, and that's what I would really like to call it out, right? Like that our, like, I believe especially the Gita course participants, might not have understood what exactly is this Krishna conscious process all about. Some might be thinking Krishna conscious process means, every Sunday evening attending 2 hours of classes, of course, beautiful, humorous, and enlightening, enriching classes of Kartikeya Prabhu. But still, the real purpose, the real basic principle of our Krishna conscious movement, what Prabhupada has emphasized, what is it? Anybody knows? Prabhupada says 3 things: chanting, dancing, and feasting. I'm just trying to read from one of the purports of Prabhupada given for this song. It is mentioned, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are very pleasing because the basic principles of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement are chanting, dancing, and eating Krishna Prasad. He made his headquarters in Jagannath Puri and would dance, chant, and then immediately call for prasadam to be distributed to the devotees. They were so pleased that every day hundreds of men would come to chant, dance with Lord Chaitanya. The temple proprietor, the king of Orissa, Maharaj Pratap Rudra, had an open order to the workers in the temple to supply as much prasadam to Lord Chaitanya's devotees as they wanted. Therefore, his pastimes are very pleasing. Chant, dance, and take prasadam. If one is captivated by the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, simply by chanting, dancing, and eating prasadam, the dirty things in his heart will all become cleansed. The heart of anyone who takes to this movement of chanting, dancing, and eating Krishna Prasad will surely be cleansed of all dirty material contamination. So this is just a one paragraph, right? And we can see how Prabhupada is emphasizing again and again. I counted it's around 6 times. Prabhupada is emphasizing the basic principle of our movement. What is it? Chanting, dancing, and feasting. Yes, like Prabhupada has coined this term, Sunday feast, right? All the devotees come together on Sunday morning or Sunday evening. And then what do? We come together and we sing and dance, right? And then what do? After we get tired, we sit for some time, we hear some katha. And then once again, we jump and dance, to the artis or to the kirtans. And then once again, we're really tired, then we go for prasadam, and then we honor it to our fullest satisfaction, right? So this usually, right, like this katha or the discussion is one part of it. But the main component of our movement is chanting, dancing, and feasting. So let's remember, right? And let's not have any other idea of what exactly is this Hare Krishna movement or this ISKCON or this all movement is all about. Our process is chanting, dancing, and feasting. Okay. So with that, then why we are talking about fasting? Why should we do this tapasya? Yeah. So because Lord Krishna, he himself has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 18.5 that whoever we are, either we are beginning in this process of Krishna consciousness or even the pure great souls, we have to do 3 things. What is that? Yajna dana tapa karma natyajyam karyam evatat yajna danam tapascheva pavanani manishinam. He's saying acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up, but should be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. And how do we do yajna in our movement? We do Sankirtan yajna. We all of us come together and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And because this is the process of yajna that is given in this Kali Yuga. And I'm sure you must have heard many times from our devotees how this process is the most sweetest process and the most sublime process and the most effective process for curing our disease. And then charity. And I was also very delighted to hear from our Kartikeya Prabhu that, like, especially all the devotees of Belandur, you have contributed significantly to our blissful book distribution marathon, because all of us, I think all of you understand what is the real charity. And that's what Lord says in Bhagavad Gita. How do you really give the right knowledge to the right people so that they can really appreciate and they can transform their life. So we should not just give charity, whatever they do in a differently, but how do you should give the charity to the right place at right time to the right people. And the most important thing also tapasya, the tapa or penance, right? And one part of this tapa is that we are talking about is the Ekadasi Upavas. Yes, because it is important for us, like tapo divyam ena putra kayena sutam. Even in Bhagavatam also it is mentioned very beautifully that how as a human being means, right, we should do some tapasya, right? Otherwise, right, like we all talk about, like even the animalistic culture, what they do just is eating, meeting, sleeping differently. And what really differentiates for a human being is that they do some tapo divyam yena putraka yena sattvam. That the human being does that additional activity of tapasya to understand and to realize the Supreme Lord. So now let's focus on our agenda of today. So we'll have three topics for this. What is this Ekadasi? What is this Ekadasi Upavas? And why do you observe? So we'll spend most of our time here, because once we are convinced enough that why we should do it, because most of the people, they say, oh, you just do it. They focus on what, right, on how, but they don't focus on why. That's how it becomes as a ritual. We just follow for the sake of it without putting our spirit into it. So how we can make ritual into spiritual? By just trying to understand the why. So that's where we'll be focusing the most. And then the last part also will try to discuss a little bit as well, and how do we observe this Ekadasi Upavas. Does this sound good? Thank you. So let's go ahead. So what is Ekadasi? Ekadasi, like this is a Sanskrit word, right? Like this is what like all of us follow, is a lunar calendar, right? In our scripture, most of like we hear that Akshaya Tritiya, Ganesha Chaturthi, Naga Panchami, right? Like Bhamana Dwadasi and so on, right? And this Ekadasi is what? This is the 11th day of this our lunar calendar, right? So we have this right, Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha, depending on the how the moon is waxing or like brightening, or is waning or fading. So we have this two Paksha, and the 11th day, right, of each Paksha is called Ekadasi. Ekadasi is the 11th lunar day. Okay. And what is this meaning of this Upavas? Right. So we call Ekadasi Brata or Ekadasi Upavas. But it's Upa means near, and Vasa means closer. Like Vasa means staying. Vasa, Vasati. So staying closer to the Lord. What does it mean? Staying closer means, is it really just physically staying closer to the Lord? Not really. That's what not we are talking about. We are talking about how we are staying with all our karmendriyas and gyanendriyas, and most importantly our mind, closer to the Lord. And we can also appreciate the Lord by staying closer with the devotees, right? Once you come in the association of the devotees. So Ekadasi Upavas means, yes, it's the 11th lunar day where we would like to stay closer to the Lord. Yes, this Ekadasi comes twice in a month, as we discussed. In a whole year, around 24 Ekadasis. Of course, in the leap year, we have two more, so 26. That's extra mercy that we get. And yes, like of course, like even before we personally also we came into Krishna consciousness, we heard of like Vaikuntha Ekadasi, or in Maharashtra and so on, Acharyas Ekadasi, or in some places only Kartik Ekadasi, right? But now we hear that, like, yes, we are not only talking about this once in a year, Vaikuntha Ekadasi or Acharyas Ekadasi or Kartik Ekadasi. We are talking about all the 24 Ekadasis. We are talking about that comes once in 15 days. Okay, so why we celebrate it? Now we'll go next. So why do we observe it, right? So we'll try to give various reasons what is a scientific reason, what is an astronomical or astrological reason. There also will cover a little bit of Patanjali and Ayurveda and so on. And then we'll also talk about scripturally, in our scripture, what are the reasons have been given, and most importantly, what is the spiritual reason behind celebrating this Ekadasi. Then, and ultimately, we'll summarize it, right? How it really, how benefits us, how we're really getting benefited out of it. Okay, let's move on. So now we'll start with scientific reason. So please bear with me because here now I'll be talking a little bit of science and then for sometimes some geography, astronomy, and so on. So especially the inquisitive curiosity and scientific minds, right? Yes, it might give some food for thought. Or if you're not able to follow me, just be patient, and then we'll also go to the other reasons where you will be able to connect. Okay. So now, going back to our biology classes, where we understand that our body is made up of cells. This is unit, right? And within a cell, there is a nucleus, and within that nucleus, we have the chromosomes, like each of the nucleus, especially in a human body, we have around 46 or 23 pairs of chromosomes. This really helps us, like this body of DNA, it really helps us in taking the genetic information or the information of our body, of our being, right, from one generation to another generation, and also it really influences a lot of things, right? So this chromosome, right, the structure of it is that like it is also like this thread structure, right, as we can see here. And then okay, I'm just using so here there is a component of this chromosome called telomere, right, which is you can consider as like if you have a shoelace, right, at the end of the shoelace you have like a plastic cap, right, which really binds that thread. So similarly, even this telomere, it really helps us, right, in binding this chromosome or this DNA information together, right? Otherwise, like it just falls apart, right? This DNA strand really gets apart, right? At some point of time, right, like even some people they were saying that, oh, this is like a junk DNA. It doesn't contain any information. There is no utility of it. So why Lord has created this, this unused component in our body? But later on, they found that like even this part of this DNA or this chromosome, right, like also contains the other 4 basic nucleic bases like this adenine, thymine, and cytosine, and guanine, like this called this ATCZ, right? And it with some sequence, right? It really is structured there. And the main purpose of this telomere is that what it does, it really helps in decomposing the unused or damaged subcomponent of the cell, right? Like we can consider like if like a clock, right, it gets damaged, that one way is that you just throw it out and you get a new one, right? Another way is that like you see that okay, the whole clock is not damaged, but this cell, the battery is really finished, so we have to just change the battery, right? So similarly, right, in some cases the whole cell of our body is not damaged, but only a component or subcomponent of the cell is damaged. So in that case, this telomere helps us in decomposing the subcellular part of the cell, right? That's the first. And the second thing is also that, like as we discussed, this acts as a protective cap, right, at the end of the chromosomes, so that the information doesn't get stranded out, right? And also it helps in the while this cell gets replicated, so through the cell division process, it helps in correctly replicating it. So, and whenever there's a cell division happens, right? When there's a cell division happens from 1 to 2, and then whole component of the cell, nucleus, and all these chromosomes, they really get separated out. One thing happens, right? This part of this, right, this telomeres, right? They get shortened. They get shortened, once they move from one cell division to another. But at the same time, it ensures that the middle part of this, the DNA, that left undamaged, so that the information is carried forward from one cell division to another cell division. But over a period of time, what this, as you can see from this picture, right, like the this telomere, right, gets shortened, right, from one cell division to another. And what is the impact of this one, right? When the telomeres that get shortened, it help it, right, it increases our aging process. And then what happens, because the telomeres, as you said, that it helps us in decomposing this unused or damaged subcellular parts, right? The cell is not able to decompose them. So whenever there is an infection, whenever there is a bacteria or virus, right, like this, because of the lack of telomeres, it's not able to decompose them, right? So then some more diseases comes, like arthritis or AD, like or cancer, or so many severe diseases comes up, right? But then why you are talking about all this jargons here in this program, right? So what happened, I think in 2009, there are a group of scientists called Elizabeth, Carol, and Jack, right? They got Nobel Prize in 2009 in medicine. For what? For discovering this chromosomes, right, which is protected by this telomeres, right, and this telomerase enzymes, which really helps us in decomposing, right? And they correlated it to the aging process. They correlated to the aging process, and they found that, right, how, right, once this telomeres get shortened, how aging happens, and there is a more pronounced effect of death, right? So then how can we really reduce this aging process? How can we keep this junk DNA as it is? And they try to understand what are the drivers, right? And they found that after so much research, for your surprise, what they said? They said that especially the fasting helps in, right, increasing or retaining that telomere as it is, right? Of course, this is one of the reasons, but the other reasons are also like how the plant-based nutrients, the food that we take, or we do sufficient exercise, and all the other things as well. But this is, fasting is considered as one of the trigger, right, to keep it as it is. And they did a lot of analysis, right, and they found that how during the cell duplication process, right, the cell remains as it is, and the cell still remains younger. And they have also gone to some extent that how it has to be done, especially in the age of 8 to 80, age of 8 to 80, and that's what even our Shastra says, right, that this fasting has to be done for the age of, since the age of 8 or 80 till 80, right? Of course, in our movement, we see that even the kids, they also love to do. We'll talk about it later, right? So this is one of the reason, right, how the fasting, right, helps in retaining this telomere as it is, right? And the second reason, right, this is also based on one of the Nobel scientists' research findings. This process is called autophagy, right? This autophagy is a process of once again cellular digestion, right? So what it is, this is also like like auto means self, and eating, like phagy means, right, to like eat, right? So this Nobel scientist called Christian Dudoué, he coined this term, right? And how this autophagy helps in really helps in right, recycling and degrading the different components of the cell, right? And this process, right, is also further substantiated by a Japanese scientist called Yoshinori Osomi, right, who also got this Nobel Prize recently. And he also talks about that that how that after infection, this autophagy can destroy different bacteria and viruses. And then he also goes one step further. He says that fasting for 12 plus or to 24 plus hours triggers, right, this autophagy process, right? And this is like special process called high basal autophagy, which is like people talk about, it's a 48-hour of fasting, right, to increase this autophagy process. And by doing that, right, it helps us in having our cleaner body, and it helps us in detoxing, right, with all the viruses, right? Like as you can see with right, many benefits, right, like some of the auxiliary benefits. So of course we cannot say that okay, fasting is the only thing that really does it. Like if you just fast, that you will not have cancer or you will not have all of this, but definitely this really helps in, right, cleaning our body. This helps in, right, what we call as a recycling the trash within our body, right? It helps us in really bringing this immunity, bringing this how we can really be free from infections, right? And how, like they talk about that this like this fasting process that we do, that really helps in cleaning the body, right? Like even in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, they also talk about, right, that also says that every 15 days, right, especially for a vegetarian person, you do it once, one day. And especially for the non-veg persons, they say that at least a person has to fast for a month. And we know to whom we are talking about, and how some sections of the people, right, in the world, they celebrate this fasting even for a month, right? So there are different people, like they do the fasting, right? And how it really, like this scientific reason might not be known. That is known only for maybe 10 or maybe 15 years. But before that, like different people, right, with a different belief, and they do this fasting, right? One of the reason is to really detoxic, right, remove the toxicity in our body, right? So now let's move on to the astronomical or astrological reason. What is, first of all, astronomy? Astronomy is really when you talk about the movement of heavenly bodies, right, in the sky. And then astrology, they talk about how those heavenly bodies movement really affects us, affects, right, all our behavior, all our all our thought process, and so on, right? So here, let's understand a little bit of geography now. That was a biology class, now geography class. So what is it? So how the tide gets formed? Anybody knows how the tide gets formed in the ocean? Why there is a low tide? Why there is a high tide? They people something called this called spring tide, or Peruvian spring tide. So it's all about the, it's caused by the, there are also once again many reasons, but the primary reason, right, for forming the tides is because of the moon and because of the sun. And primarily it is because of the sun, because of the moon, because the moon is staying closer to the earth, right? And the gravitational force of the moon is twice as that of the sun. So we can see that, like if there is a sun, and if I'm the earth, right, and if this is the if this is moon, right, and as you can see from the top chart, right, when there is a moon in between the sun and the earth, right, I see like a dark moon or the new moon, right? But then once this moon goes the opposite direction, the moon gets the complete reflection, right, of the light, and we see the full moon, right? So that's how, right, the moon revolves around the earth, right? Moon revolves around the earth. At the same time, earth also rotates around its own axis. Earth rotates around its own axis, right? And then moon rotates around the earth. And then this movement of, right, this moon, right, like it happens like like 12 hours a day, like 12 degrees a day, that's what we call as a tithi, right? And that's how it takes, right, like 360 degree for around like 30 days, or to be precise around 29.5 days, right? So because especially the earth rotates right? Within its own axis, it takes 24 hours. But as it rotates, right, if the moon is here, right, but as Earth rotates, the moon also revolved, right, to around 12 degree. So to get the same position, right, of Earth and moon in the same line, it takes around, right, like they say 24.5 hours and so on, right? So that's the reason, like the lunar calendar and solar calendar, there's a little difference, right? So that's how it takes. Lunar calendar is about like 29.5, and solar calendar is about 30 days a month. So what we are saying here? So we are saying that, so as you can see from the top picture, and because of the gravitational force of the moon, right, the the ocean in the earth, they really come out, right? Yes, of course, like when we talk about like keeping a bottle or like the mouse or so on, because of the gravitational force of the earth, it really gets attached, right? That's the gravitational force of the earth, right? But then because of the gravitational force of the moon, right, it also attracts, and especially we can see that influence in a liquid, right, or in the water in the ocean. And when we can see it prominently, especially during this full moon days or the new moon days, right, where, right, what happens during the full moon days? It not only the ocean and the earth, right, they get attracted, right, by the new moon or the moon, but also the gravitational force of the sun, right? Because of the gravitational force of the sun, this huge body, right, whole solar system is there, right? But because the sun is very far, right, the influence of the sun to the ocean is not much. But then when the sun and moon, they come together, the big tide happens, right? And then, right, or otherwise, especially on the full moon, it stays very close to the earth, and that's why we can see, right, the high tides. So once again, right, why we are talking about this forming of the tides, right, in this session? Because it is mentioned once again by some research scientists, because we thought that we'll bring you the pictures as it is from the modern Mahajanas. Because if I talk about some says and saints, and people say, oh, is it so? Can you talk about some modern Mahajans or the scientists, right? So what they are saying, like there is a guy called Joachim Fiesen, right, especially in the Max Planck Institute of Plant Physiology, right, in Germany. So he did some research, right, with a plant called this Arabidopsis thaliana. This is a commonly weed, right, like that is used as a model to do any kind of research, especially in the botany, right? And it said that, like, especially the root growth or the movement of the water molecules in the cell, it follows some pattern, right? Like they call it a 24.8, right? That's what we talked about, right? The time it takes for the earth to have complete rotation so that it can really move, right? And it follows that, and based on the how it is going up and down. So like, though it is very tiny, the cells are very tiny, but it has also like some sensitive effect, right, to the movement, right, of this sun and moon, and also with respect to the earth. And similarly, right, this is a scientist called Thomas Ware, who is like former chief of this NIMS, National Institute of right? So like he talks about that some people have this mood swings that follows a 14.8 or like this 29.5 day cycle, right? And he says that this bipolar patient's mood swings are rhythmic, and that these rhythms appear to correlate with the certain gravitational cycles of the moon, right? So what we are saying here, right? There is a correlation between the moon and the man or the mind. So yes, earlier, a lot of like even the Aristotle or even right, so many people earlier also they talked about this, right? How people go through this depression and so on, right? Because of the different position of the moon, right? But then recently, when the scientists also found that how the different positions of the moon also affects our mind, right? So first of all, let's understand how it affects our body. It is mentioned that, like as we heard, right, in our body, right, like we have also 75% or more than 75% of water, right? And then, right, during this full moon or this new moon day, there is also, right, some effect in our body, right? And as you might have asked, oh, like we can see this effect in the huge ocean because there's a huge water and so on. But do you really see that happening in the tiny cells? And that's the reason, right? We brought this an example of this botanical research where they had shown that how that effect is also felt in a nano range, right? And that's what we can see, that it affects our brain as well, our body as well, right? So that prominent effect is there on this full moon or new moon day, right? And how we can avoid it, how we can avoid the effect of, right, this moon on this full moon day in our brain or body, by reducing this water retention content. What does it mean, right? Especially the grains, right? Like as we know, it retains a lot of water as compared to maybe fruits or any other things, right? So that's how, right? First thing is that we really clean our body. So we don't take any grains on Ekadasi, so that we are free from retaining this water. Because once you take like this, like fruit juices or only water or so on, right, it goes away and smoothly. But once we have these grains, it really retains it really within our body, and that's how the toxic forms. And the second thing is that, like, yes, because this water content remains, and then it really affects our mind. It really affects our mind, and then a lot of people go through, right, difficult times, right, especially from this Ekadasi to maybe this 4-5 days. And that's the reason. And people say that, like, whatever we eat, right, this is also once again research, they said that once again whatever we eat to go to brain, to affect the brain, it takes around 4 days. That's the reason, like, our cleaning process of our body and mind starts from the day of 11th, right? Isn't it a very scientific and a very intuitive, right, a reason that how it has been coming through for ages, that how there has to be this cleaning process or the detoxing process, or the how we should not take these grains, right, on the day of Ekadasi, right? And how we should really take it light, right? And then how it really helps us, right, during this full moon day or new moon day, right? So, like, how this is very, very intriguing, right, to understand, right, which is but at the same time it has been really given through the science, and also through the astronomy, through the astrology, and through this Patanjali Yoga Sutras, how they are really interrelated to each other. Okay, so now let's move forward and talk about what is there in our scriptures, having understood from the scientific perspective or astronomical or astrology perspective or Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Like, even one more also, right? Like, people say that the mind also is situated in in our 6 chakras. It is called Agnya Chakra, Anahata Chakra, and so on. And especially on this day of Ekadasi, right, the mind comes to this own position at this Agnya and Anahata Chakra, which really helps us in really focusing our mind, right? And why do, like, there's a connection between this fasting and this the sadhana or the meditation that we do on Ekadasi, right? Because, right, once we have this clean body, right, and a toxic body, right, like, it helps us in concentration, in focusing, in doing our own sadhana, right? Let's say, like, you might have already observed as well, that once you eat a lot and just after that you really feel drowsy. We really feel drowsy. Why? Because the whole blood circulation gets focused only on the digestive system, right? And then, right, because the blood circulation goes down, especially in our brain, right, that's why we feel drowsy, right? But then on this day, what do? We stop, right, this digestive process. We make it a little bit lean, so that, right, our brain gets focused, and all our body parts also gets proper circulation of the blood, right? So, like this, there are so many reasons are there, right, even from the biological perspective or from the scientific perspective, right, why this fasting is really helpful to our body and mind, right, and so on, right? So now let's move on to the scriptural perspective. So in Garga Samhita, right, there is this story. This is story time now. So there's a story about a in the Satya Yoga, especially in the beginning of the creation, how Lord Vishnu created like everything, right? And then it's a time for good and bad to appear, right? And the good and evil to appear. Because why? Sometimes we ask, why this evil appears, right? Yes, to punish the evils, because every uh, where, right, there are this bad components are there, where the evils are there, and to punish the evil, you need a evil, right? So right, somehow, right, like this was the demon. There was a demon called Mura, right? And this demon Mura was really, very ferocious, right? He was so strong and so ferocious that even he defeated even the demigods, right? And all the demigods being defeated, what is their one good quality, right? They have is that they approach Lord Vishnu, right? Once they approached Lord Vishnu, right, for the shelter, and the Lord Vishnu came forward, to help and to protect the demigods or to devatas, and then to fight on behalf of them, and to kill this demon called Mura. And there was a fierce fighting between this Mura and Lord Vishnu, and with the Lord Vishnu's uh, power, right, this Mura fell unconscious. And then once he fell unconscious, right, Lord Vishnu said, okay, let me take some rest. So then he went to Badrika ashram, and then he went to a cave, a beautiful cave called Hemavati, and then he just took some rest. And in the meantime, this Mura once again uh, got that consciousness, and he got with much more furious thought process. He wanted to once again take revenge of Lord Vishnu, and he came, to kill Lord. And once he realized that Lord is taking rest, he took his sword and he was about to hit the Lord. And at the same time, saying this, uh, from the Lord, one divine lady appeared, right? And that divine lady, like the smashed, she really smashed this Mura demon. And hearing this thunderous noise, right, Lord Vishnu woke up, and he saw that how this Mura's demon's head is really chopped off by this divine lady. And the Lord asked this divine lady, "Oh, lady, who are you?" And she said, "Oh, my Lord, I am," or she said, "Ekadasi, I am just a maid servant of yours. I'm Ekadasi, Ekadasi, I'm Ekadasi. I'm your maid servant, right? And I have appeared from you just to eradicate and all the demons, and also at the same time, most importantly, to protect, right, the pious people, right?" And then here Lord Vishnu is saying that, yes, I'm very happy, I want to give you a boon. What do you need, right? Yes, I would really like, right, to give the spiritual power to all the pious people. And this, yes, right, with your name, right, we'll have this, because you appeared on this tithi of Ekadasi, your name also will be Ekadasi, and you will be surcharged with this spiritual power, right? Whoever performs right, like this piety or austerity, right, he will be surcharged, and he will be surcharged with the spiritual power, and he will be, soon coming back to me, right? Whoever performs this bhava of Ekadasi, right? And that's how, right, this appeared, right? And that's how the boon of Ekadasi, like with this, Ekadasi is so powerful, right, to give this bhakti, to give this spiritual energy for going back to the Supreme Lord, right? So now let's hear one more story, right? This is from Padma Purana. So this story is about how one time this sage called Jaimini, this cell called Jaimini, he went and asked Vyasadev, oh, Vyasadev is there in this 14th chapter of Padma Purana, in the section called Kirisagar Sara, right? So in the beginning of the creation, right, yes, once again, yes, Lord created, this whole universe, right? And also there appeared a once again, evil person is called Papa Purusa, right? Once again, to uh, uh, give punishment, right, to these evil people, right? And it is mentioned that, like, how this Papa Purusa, he really punishes, right, on which kind of sinful activities one does, and accordingly, right? He punishes them, right? And then like yes, and like this Papa Purusha and Yamaras, they were uh, doing their job of correction or purification of whoever had done any mistake. But then now Lord heard and saw that how this in this hellish planet, how they are being corrected, how they are being punished because of the sinful activities, whatever they might have done. But still, as a Supreme Father, he became very merciful and very compassionate. And he said, what to be done, what to be done. Once she was really thinking about it, once again this divine lady appeared, right? And she said, oh my Lord, once again, right? I am this Ekadasi. I'm your maid servant. Uh, I could not see, right, this your compassionate heart, and I am there to really purify everybody in this hellish planet. So please grant me so that I can take all of them, right, to your abode, and they will really get purified. And said, so be it. And once again, this Ekadasi, right, because of her potency, because of her bone, right, she brought everybody, right, into the spiritual world with all the piety. But then Papa Purusha, like he said, like, oh, I'm now got fired, right, from my job. I don't have any work to do, right? Oh, like he approached Lord Vishnu, what should I do? And then he said, okay, right, yes, there has to be some job for you as well. He said, okay, what to be done? So you punish them, whoever really takes the grain on the day of Ekadasi, right? So that's why it is also called that Papa Purusha enters the grain on the day of Ekadasi, and we should not eat on the day of Ekadasi, and that's the role of Ekadasi, in this Padma Purana. So, but now we might also say that, oh, we have also heard in our Gita courses that whatever we offer to the Lord, right, it's all prasad, it's the mercy of the Lord, and how can there be any papa there? So then we need to really understand, right, one more step, and that is the scriptural reason behind it, right? Yes, we don't do Ekadasi, right, for any other reason, right? We do Ekadasi, right, for getting connected to the Lord, because, right, it is being told and performed by our Acharyas, right? Starting from Mahaprabhu to the Goswamis, to Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and all our Acharyas, and especially, our founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada. They have shown by their wonderful practice and their instructions that why we should follow it, right? And there are so many wonderful, right, like scriptural references are there, right? Why we should follow Ekadasi, and how it pleases the Lord, and how it is the mother of devotions. Once we perform some devotional activity on this day, we get closer to the Lord. And that's the reason that we said this is called Ekadasi Upavasa. Upavasa means staying closer to the Lord. Fasting is not about just, right, staying away from the right food or water and so on. No, the primary purpose of this Ekadasi is to remember more on this day, to get more closer to the Lord. That is the most important thing, right? So, especially our Rupa Goswami is one of our Sri Goswami. He is one of the principal associates of Mahaprabhu. Who is Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahi Anya. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different than Radha and Krishna together, right? So once he came to distribute this love of Godhead with everybody without differentiating who is qualified and who is not qualified, right? And once he distributing it, then he also gave his supreme love to everybody. And at the same time, he has given a couple of principles of devotional service, how to perform this sadhana bhakti, right, to get closer to the Lord, to create a right ambience, to create a right atmosphere, so that our devotional process becomes more favorable. We get more inclined to do this service. And it is mentioned that especially how a person who is in this process of spirituality, there are 6 urges, that has to be controlled. That has to be controlled. What are they? Bacho begam manusha krodha begam Jivha vegam mudara upastha vegam etan veganyo visaheta dhira sarvam apimam prithivim sasisya. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, that's a bacha. The manaso krodha vegam, that's a mind's demands and the actions of anger. Jivha vegam, the urges of tongue. Udara is a belly, and genitals is the upastha vegam. Etan vegan you bisetadara. Whoever is able to tolerate, control the six urges, he is rightly positioned to make disciples, and he is really a devotee of the Lord. That's why, and a devotee of a pure devotee or the sannyasis, is called Goswami. Why is called Goswami? Because go has a lot of meanings. One of the meaning of go is the senses. Of course, go means also cows. Go also means indriyas, right? So whoever is the master of the senses, right? He's called Goswami. Not that somebody having a surname is Goswami. No, right? But a person is a servant of the senses or the indriyas. He's called Godas, right? So this how our life is meant for, controlling, not to be the servant of the senses, but the master of the senses, so that all our senses can be used for the Rusikesa, Rusikena, Sevanam Bhakti Ruchita. What is Bhakti? Bhakti is Rusikesa, Rusikena, Sevanam Bhakti Ruchita. All our senses are meant for pleasing the master of the senses, which is Rusikesa. So that how we can use, right? How we can become a sane human being, not really having the animalistic culture that, okay, just do it. What for what? Just to satisfy our senses. No, right? As we grow up with our consciousness, we don't act or we don't decide based on our sense gratification or our satisfaction of the senses. But then as we grow up with the maturity, we decide that, okay, right? We say that, okay, it is dharmic or it is adharmic, right? Is it moral or it is immoral? Is it ethical or it's non-ethical, right? We start, referring the scriptures, the moral code of conducts. But then, as we progress further, right, we'll be discussing that, and it has been discussed again and again, that our decision box is not based on the senses or based on the dharma even, but based on what really pleases Guru and Krishna. Right? That's what we see the example of Arjuna. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, I think most of you would be hearing at this sloka a day from Kartikeya Prabhu, like how beautifully he talks about in the first chapter. He was giving so many reasons based on the scripture, based on dharma, based on the niti, right? Like how the Varna Sankara will come up, how we should not commit sinful activities, and so on, right? But then at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, right, then he left all his opinions when Lord says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Saranam Braja, right? At that time he understood that, yes, right, oh Lord, yes, it's not that, I will have my preconception what is right and wrong based on something, because I don't know, right? Because it is said that Mahajana Yena Gatasa Pantha. We have to follow the dharma based on the Mahajanas, based on our predecessor Acharyas, right? Based on, right, like what pleases Krishna, right? How do you understand what pleases Krishna? By hearing from our Acharyas what is coming in the parampara, right? So here, right, like at the end, what happens at the end of Bhagavad Gita? Then Arjuna does what really pleases Krishna, not really what pleases himself. That's the difference between Arjuna and Duryodhana. Duryodhana, he wanted to really please him, right? He wanted to satisfy his ego. But then Arjuna's mode was, what will really please Krishna? So why we are doing it? So yes, we take it as an opportunity to purify our senses, right? Because most of the times, right? Yes, like eye wants to see this, or tongue wants to test this, right? The skin wants to touch something else, right? So we just follow them. But we take this as an opportunity on this fasting. So fasting is not about our food, but also all our senses, how we can use it in the service of Krishna. And especially, right, our Acharyas Srila Prabhupada says in this book of Nectar of Instruction, in this first verse, that this tongue, belly, and genitals, they come in this straight line, these three things. If we are able to control this tongue, right, then the belly also will be controlled and the genitals will be controlled. So this fasting also helps in controlling all these lusty desires, right, to enjoy within ourselves. Okay, so now, right, we'll quote from one more scripture. It's called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There, once again, Rupa Goswami, he has given us 64 limbs of devotional service, right? 64 angas of devotional service that has to be performed by a devotee to get closer to the Lord, right? And he quotes, right? And he says that Sarva Papa Prasammanam Punyam Atyantikam Tatha Govinda Smaranam Drunam Ekadasyam Upasanam. He's saying that by fasting on Ekadasi, a person destroys all sins and gains abundant spice credits. With what purpose? To attain the remembrance of the Supreme Lord. This is important. Govinda Smaranam Drunam. Govinda Smaranam. Right? Please note, this is very important. Right? As I said in the beginning, our focus is not on fasting, but what? To remember the Supreme Lord. Right? That is important. Right? If we are fasting and sleeping because we have a headache, right? So it's better that we take something and then we remember the Supreme Lord, because this is the most, we take this as an opportunity to engage as much as possible in the service of the Lord. So we want to reduce all our bodily activities so that we can engage more in our devotional activities, right? That is the purpose of this day of Ekadasi, right? And what Srila Prabhupada has said, Srila Prabhupada said to observe Ekadasi Brata, right? And this Dwadasi Brata means to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? As we hear it again and again. Those interested in advancing in Krishna conscious must observe Ekadasi Brata regularly, right? I was hearing a couple of sessions of Karthika Prabhu, and he was talking about this beautiful pastime of Durvasa, right? And Ambrish Maharaj. We hear that how even Ambrish Maharaj was so perfect, right, in his devotional dealings, right? He was performing this Ekadasi Brata, right? And then how, in this context only, right, Prabhupada is writing this purport, that how everybody must, like he's not saying that should or maybe, right? He's saying that, every person, right, whoever assembled in this congregation or in this call, right, all of us want to all of that interest to advance in Krishna consciousness, right? And then he's saying we must observe this Ekadasi Brata, right? And because in this past time we hear that, right? Because once we are trying to please the Supreme Lord, he was not even disturbed, right, by this huge demon that was really, created by this Durvasa Muni, who was so mystical, right, with so much of austerities. But then, right, what happened? Not only, right, that demon, right, could even bulge a hair of Ambrish, but in turn, right, Ambrish Maharaj was protected by Sudarsana, and Sudarsana Chakra, who is the instrument of the Supreme Lord, he chased Durvasa Muni, right? When the demon came, Ambrish was, right, the Maharaj Ambrish, he was completely taking shelter of Lord Vishnu without going anywhere, just focusing on the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, because his purpose is that, oh Lord, I just want to serve you. I want to please you anywhere I can. But then, right, this Durvasa, right, once he saw the Sudarsana Chakra coming, then he started running everywhere. He went to Brahma Lok, he went to Siva Lok, and then he went to Lord Vishnu also. Oh, please protect me, please protect me, please protect me. For what? No, this Sudarsana is coming, right? And then we see that, like even Lord Vishnu says, no, I am not independent. As you saw that, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they are not independent. And even I am not independent. Even I am dependent on the devotee. So you have to go and to really beg forgiveness from Ambrish, right? So just by performing this simple devotion to the Supreme Lord, by following this Ekadasi, how, right, Ambrish was so steadfast and so absorbed in Krishna, rather than a person who's really, performing so much of austerities, right? And then, of course, Durvasa Muni, he's really glorifying the holy name. He's really glorifying, the devotee of the Lord, like Ambrish Maharaj. Okay. And moving on, now coming to the most important point, right? Because this is even practiced and preached by Mahaprabhu himself, right? So there is a nice pastime where it is mentioned about how Mahaprabhu had instructed this, right? Even to his own mother. What he had said, there's a nice section in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, 15th chapter. In this couple of verses, in these 2-3 verses, this is a beautiful verse. Like it starts with, it is mentioned that Mahaprabhu at this Nimai, he's saying that Eko dina matar pade kariya pranama Prabhu kohe mata more deho eko dana. Nimai or Mahaprabhu, he is saying to his mother, "Oh mother, I'm falling down at your lotus feet, and I'm requesting you, please give me one charity. Mata more deho eka dana." And then Sachi Mata is saying, because Nimai is so close to him, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's the childhood name is Nimai, and Mother Sachi, she tells to Mahaprabhu, to this Nimai, she's saying, "Mata bole tai divo jatumi magive, Prabhu kohe ekadasi te arna na khaive." So Nimai is saying what? Ekadasi te arna na khaive. When asked by mother, yes, please ask whatever you would like, right? Mahaprabhu is saying, please don't eat on the day of Ekadasi, because especially in our eastern India, like Odisha and Bengal and so on, there is a myth that sadhavas, especially the ladies with husband, they should not perform Ekadasi. But here we can see, right, how Mahaprabhu is breaking that myth. Right at that time, yes, Jagannath Mishra, as his father was there, and then his Nimai is telling to his mother, "Oh mother, please perform Ekadasi." Yeah. And then Prabhupada also quotes from Skanda Purana and saying that how it is very important to perform Ekadasi, because trekking cranes on the Ekadasi is how sinful and how it takes us away from our Krishna consciousness. And then Sachimata is saying, "Na khaibo bhalo hi kohila, sei hoite Ekadasi karite lagila." And Mother Sachi, right, from that day onwards, he said, "Oh, you have spoken so nicely. Thank you very much. I shall not eat grains on Ekadasi." From that day, she started observing Ekadasi. Right. So with this example, we can see that how, like, because Mahaprabhu has come, right, like to show bhakta bhava kariya angikar, right? Like, he's saying that bhakti karibu prachar, like, he's teaching us the process of bhakti, by taking the role of a bhakta. The Lord, he himself coming, to teach us how to follow the bhakti. And from his childhood days, right, he is teaching this basic principle of following Ekadasi. Right, and how he also practiced when he took sannyas and he went to Puri, and once he went to Puri, like his only thing what he was doing chanting, dancing, and feasting. And as we read in the beginning, right, and why Mahaprabhu went to Puri? Because there's Anand Bazaar. Like, if you have not gone to Puri, right, like in this Puri, right, as you can see from here, right, this is where the Anand Bazaar is there, where there is a always feast is there for how many ever people would come. Right, and Prabhupada is saying that yes, this is the reason Mahaprabhu established his headquarters after taking sannyas, because like the people from Bengal and all over India would come and they would always chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. They would sing and dance whole day and whole night, right? And then once they get tired, let's go to the Anand Bazaar, and let's go to this Jagannath Vallabh garden, and they will honor prasadam. But one day, right, on the day of Ekadasi, he was taking rest in this Jagannath Vallabh garden along with all of his associates. At that time, two of his dear associates, like the main priest of Jagannath Mandir at that time was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and his brother-in-law called Gopinath Acharya. They brought also nice prasadam, right, to feed all the Vaishnavas. And then, Mahaprabhu said that yes, today is Ekadasi, right? Yes, we can offer right, Arna Prasadam to the Lord, but we cannot honor, we cannot take, right, this Arna Prasadam. So on that day, what do we should do? Yes, otherwise, whenever there's a Prasadam coming, right, we should take it as soon as it comes, we should honor it, because that's a matter of respect to the Prasadam. Right? But on this day, we should offer obeisances, and we can take it on the next day. Right? That's how Mahaprabhu has shown and also told and instructed his associates that yes, yes, we can offer, we can offer, we can prepare, and we can cook, and we can offer to the Lord Vishnu, right? Because this Ekadasi Upavasa is only for devotees, right? But then once it is offered, when it comes as a prasad, right, and then we should not honor that, right? We can honor it on the next day, right? So that's how, right, we heard from various perspectives, from the scientific perspective, from the astronomical perspective, from the scriptural perspective of these two stories, or from the scriptural perspective or the spiritual perspective, right? Once we talk about our Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, how our Acharyas have given this understanding, right, and how they have told us in various scriptures, and how most importantly Mahaprabhu, right, from the very beginning of his days, he said, and he instructed his mother and also his associates in Puri, how to observe Ekadasi. And yes, we do perform Ekadasi, right, to please the Supreme Lord. So yes, this in one context, yes, it helps us in purifying and detoxifying our body. It helps in pacifying our mind. We talked about this effect of moon in mind, and most importantly, yes, it helps us in enriching and enlightening our soul. So this Ekadasi is really real feasting. So that's why we said it's not a fasting, but it's a feasting for our body, mind, and soul. So it really helps in true and complete nourishment of our whole body, right? It's not only that, oh, we are fasting, but we are just thinking about the food. No, right? When we are fasting, we should think that yes, it helps. It is now cleaning our body, right? As you said, now we're really rejuvenating all over the cells of our body, right? Yes, it helps us in pacifying our mind, and most importantly, right, this is the best thing that the soul is really looking forward to. And that's why Vinod Thakur, one of our Acharya, he's saying, Madhava Tithi Bhakti Janani Jatane Palana Kari, right? Very carefully you observe on this day of Ekadasi, because this is a mother of devotion. Like just like a mother, gives a child. Similarly, this Ekadasi is called Bhakti Janani. It's a mother of devotion. So once we respectfully, right, prayerfully we observe this Ekadasi, we get bhakti. Okay, so now we understood what is Ekadasi Upavas. We understood why we should observe Ekadasi Upavas. I believe most of you have been satisfied with so many reasons. Now, having convinced about it, now let's see how to observe Ekadasi. So we'll just very briefly talk about it. So when to do it, and what to do it on that day, and what can be taken, and what is the mood in serving it. So yes, yes, very easy way of getting it. Like you can get this Vaishnava calendar app that's there in Android and so on, right? And in this calendar, you can really see that, okay, this next Ekadasi is coming on 24th of January, right? And this is this Putrada Ekadasi, right? So of course, Ekadasi means like sunrise to sunrise. And sometimes we might also see that there is some difference between outside, like, and people celebrate Ekadasi and we celebrate, like, based on our Surya Siddhanta, whatever our Acharyas have given, they consider the Ekadasi Tithi should be on the sunrise. It should be at the sunrise, right? Even if the Ekadasi, this is Tithi sometimes starts in the, let's say, noon time, but they take that day is Ekadasi, but the next day when there's Ekadasi Tithi, they take it. So there is some little bit of difference, but that's the reason we request you to follow, right, this Vaishnava calendar app, or like, of course, from our ISKCON Whitefield also we send the messages as well. We will be getting those messages when is Ekadasi, so that will help us in triggering. And though it's Ekadasi to Ekadasi, but the sunrise to sunrise this Ekadasi, but the devotees does the fasting from usually the sunset of Dasami, or at least we should ensure that in the sunrise of Ekadasi, there is no food. It means that we should take very light meal on the Dasami day or the previous night of Ekadasi. Yes, we can take grains, we can take something, but very lightly, so that our body is light once we wake up on the next day. So it should not happen that, oh, tomorrow is fasting, let's take food to the max, to the neck, right? No, that's not the proper mood, right? And yes, on the day of Dwadasi also, there is a specific time called Paran time. There's a reason, right? We will not go in detail, but there is also a reason that you should break the fast between six, like a specific interval, it's like 7 to 10, or right, that also will be there in this app, so we can follow to break that fast, right? So we'll talk about how to break the fast as well, right? So what to do on the day of Ekadasi? So on the day of Ekadasi, right, arna means all the grains, pearls, right, all the beans we should avoid, right? So including mustard seed and sesame seeds. The sesame seeds like we take on the day of Saptila Ekadasi. Otherwise, we don't take any kinds of grains on this day of Ekadasi. And also like the derivatives of these foods as well, like flour or some oils and so on, right? Or sometimes we cook, right, like some fried items, right, in some oil, so we should not use on this Ekadasi the same oil. We should keep something separate for the day of Ekadasi. Even the salt also, right, preferably we should, that rock salt instead of the ocean salt, right, preferably. And right, that's how we should do it. And then the fasting also, it can be done in a various levels, right? Like something is called dry fasting, or it's called nirjala, right? And there, like we don't take even water, right? But definitely in the beginning, maybe it's not recommended, right? Definitely we can just take some warm water, right? Or we can take some fruits or some fruit juice or milks. But then like if that's also not possible, we can take anukalpa prasadam, right? Like whatever we can cook with this any fruits and roots, right? And if you want to know, right, what we can cook, right? Yes, devotees have come up with a lot of recipes as well, what we can cook on Ekadasi. So that's the reason I thought of sharing with you a couple of links. Or you can go to our Hare Krishna TV or krishna.com, and you can say that, okay, what are the, and we also would request you to follow, right, like because sometimes on the Ekadasi, especially, once again, in our eastern Odisha, once again, like they say, okay, you cannot take rice, but you can take gehu, right? You can take chapati, or you can take rava and so on, right? Or in some cases they say, okay, you cannot take like wheat items, but you can take rice, right? So there are various varieties of Ekadasi fasting also is there. But because we are part of this Brahma Goda Sampradaya, and also we talked about, right, how the scientific reason what exactly is grain and why we don't take grains. And grain means like all this rice, wheat and so on, because they retain water. So that's the reason we don't take any kinds of grains, neither rice nor wheat or nor pearls or anything like that, right? So here we can go here, right, and we can select whatever really feels good to our test buds, or especially for our children, right? Yes, yes, ideal, right, like I said, it could be nirjala, and that of course we do it once in a year. But definitely, right, we, like especially for the working professionals or whoever we are, like if it is not feasible, then okay, maybe we can do fasting, complete fasting till noon. But if it is still not possible, right, then of course we can take fruits, right, or roots or milk and juices and so on, right? And of course, like we can also take, if it is not possible, we can take also like this barai, or right, or whatever, right, we can prepare based on like these like singana, and there's so many are there, right? Kuttuka atta and singhada, and this makhana, like so many things can be prepared, and we can take so many things, right? And especially like I was talking about, how do you break the fast on Dwadasi, right? So if somebody is fasting completely, right, with the nirjala, we break the fast, right? That's why we call in the morning time is called breakfast, right? So we break the fast with water. If somebody is only taking falas, we can take with some cooked items, right? We can break the fast. Or like as we do mostly, right, like yes, we can take anukalpa prasadam. So on the next day of Dwadasi, we break the fast with some grains, like with any rice items during this time only. So we should not, or we must not delay it further. So we need to ensure that we should break the fast, we should take the grain prasadam and so on, during this time, which is given in the Paran time. Okay. So that's all about it. Yes, once again, just to summarize it, to understand once again, emphasize once again the mood of performing devotional service, and that's been given by our Acharyas, and especially is that Anya Vilasita Sunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhakti Ruttama. So our devotional process should be what? We should do whatever is favorable in our Krishna conscious activities. So just to translate, when first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires, right? So we should, the decision box, as we discussed earlier, is that what really pleases Krishna and Guru and our Acharyas, and what really pleases them. That's our decision box. And this fasting also, right, can be also extended or extrapolated to various things as well, right? Like we are so much bombarded, right? This social media and WhatsApp, Facebook, and so many things. Can we do fast, right? One day. This is more difficult, right? Yes, right. Or at least can we do the fasting, in the morning time, so that okay. Otherwise, people what they do, right? Once they get up, start checking WhatsApp and start sending messages and so on, right? This morning time is really for right getting nourished and getting absorbed, to do spiritual activities. That's a mode of goodness time, right? So how we should utilize our time, which is in the mode of goodness, to do activities which really helps us, which is really favorable to Krishna consciousness, and should not really bombard with all that nonsense messages that is really appearing, and really once again be a servant, right, of that social media, right? Whatever some friend or somebody is saying, or whatever happening in a US or in some part of the world, right, that should not affect us, right? How, right? The process of self-realization means we realize ourselves and we understand, we have a discriminatory power to understand what is right and wrong, and to be determined to do what is right, right? So that is the process of self-realization, right? It's not that okay, whatever YouTube suggests we watch that, or whatever somebody says we just in a provocatively way we just react to it, and then we start, right, the fighting and the quarrel and the misunderstanding, misconceptions. But right, to do the fasting of all that nonsense or just that really attacks us, to really be fast from that as well, right? So that's why we say fasting from social media is more difficult nowadays than even the fasting from the food, right? So but yes, now we can extend our fasting. Once again, as we said, we have to do whatever is favorable for Krishna consciousness. Okay, and that's how our acharyas, that's how they do the feasting. How do they do feasting? This is a quote from our Prithu Maharaj, that's in Bhagavatam. It says, na kamayena tatadapi aham kvachin na yatra yusma charanam bujasava mahatamanta hrudayan mukhochito vidhat swakarnayutam e samevara. What is feasting? Feasting means, all right, dine and drink, right? So this is a drink for a devotee. What they would like to drink? They would really like to the nectarian beverage, right? And how? They don't want to drink through the mouth, they want to drink through the ears. And that's what Prithu Maharaj is saying. Give me millions of cups, means millions of years, so that I want to drink the nectarian katha of Krishna. He's saying, my dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your lotus existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1 million years, for thus I may be able to hear the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. Yes, this is the day to be completely absorbed in hearing Krishna Katha, right? So yes, we might not like to have 1 million years, but at least with our 2 years, how can really utilize it completely, so that we can absorb more and more the Krishna Katha, that is there in our beautiful scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so on, right? And then, right, not only Krishna Katha, but most importantly, even Krishna Nam, right? Just say this beautiful verse. How, right? What is a prayer for a devotee? Sing, Agadamana Yasoda Nandano Nandasuno Kamalanayana Gopi Chandra Vrindavanendra Pranata Karuna Krishno iti Aneka Sarupe Tvai mama ratiruche vardatam namadheya. Here, in this prayer of Namastakam, right, Rupa Goswami is saying that, oh holy name, I pray that my love for you in your many forms, such as Aghadamana, like Oghasur, or Yasoda Nanda, the son of Yasoda, Nanda Sunu, the son of Nanda, Kamala Nayana, lotus eyed, O Gopi Chandra, moon of gopis, Vrindavanendra, king of Vrindavan, Pranata Karuna, O merciful to surrender souls, and Krishna may greatly increase. So, Anna, that should be our only hankering, that how my love for the holy name should increase more and more, so that I don't want to do anything on this planet, right? Just I want to do be absorbed in Krishna Katha and Krishna Naam, right? And especially, of course, of course, Lord is saying Kirtaniya Sada Hari, right? Yes, we can engage all our body, mind, and senses in the service of the Lord. If you're not able to do, at least to start with, can we do at least on the day of Ekadasi? And that could be is our real feasting. Feasting means completely absorbed in Krishna Katha and Krishna Naam. So on this day, we take as an opportunity to chant more, to hear more, to serve more. That's the mood. That's how we observe Ekadasi. Right? So our equation, the takeaway message from this session today, what is that? Fasting is good. Yes, it helps our body and mind, especially on this day of Ekadasi. Grains equal to bad. Yes, it helps in a lot of toxins and so on, right? With the Papa Purusha and so on that we talked about, so many reasons. But the most important thing is that what? Fasting plus chanting, is remembering the Lord, is very good. So fasting is good, grains equal to bad, and fasting plus chanting or remembering the Lord is very good. That is the takeaway message for today. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. So now I would like to open for any questions or any comments or any reflection, any feedback.
Hare Krishna, the chat box is open. Any questions, please post it in the chat box.
Okay, I'm just seeing any. Yes, so there's a question from our Deepak Prabhu. He's saying that when there is Sutak, can we observe fasting? Yes, there is no way to stop it. There is, as we heard from our Acharyas, that our whole existence is to chant more and more, right? And especially right during these special events, we should take it as an opportunity to chant more, right? Yes, we might not be engaging in deity worship activities and so on, right? But definitely we can continue to observe Ekadasi with Ekadasi Mahaprasad, and we can take the non-grains prasadam, and most importantly, as we heard, fasting to be complemented with chanting or hearing Krishna Katha and Krishna Naam. Okay, there is one more question. Okay, thank you for the beautiful session. Thank you for wonderful presentation. We are serving kids with all types of food on Ekadasi, how it affects us, our kids. So as we discussed, especially for the less than 8 years old, like yes, maybe they can take it. But we should encourage, especially more than 8 years, when they can take also this, Anukalpa Prasadam. And of course, in our society, like even the kids, they look forward to Ekadasi because they get this makhana, they get, sometimes very nice goranga potatoes and so many nice recipes. Like they prepare nowadays dosa, idli, and everything out of Ekadasi, items. So yes, please go through that recipes, and kids also look forward to observe Ekadasi. Okay. And okay, so I'm just going down. Okay, thank you for it. Was so enlightening, informative. when we have period, yes, during this monthly periods as well, like Matajis also can continue to the fasting. And can we do only water fasting? Yes, depending on the psychophysical nature of our body, if it is allowing, right? Yes, we can do the nirjala or only with water, right? But if it is not allowing, once again, right, as we said, our focus is not only on fasting, our focus is on fasting and chanting and hearing. So, like, it should not happen that we just do only water fasting and then we do sleeping, right, or having, because of headache or because of we are feeling giddiness and so on, right? More important than that is really, right, we can take some Anukalpa Prasadam, but we should increase our devotional activities. That is more important. This, our service and devotional service is more important than maybe, going from just nirjala to sajala, or to fruits, or even to Anukalpa. So even okay. Very nice session. On the day of Ekadasi in Jagannath Puri, rice prasadam is served. We should eat that or not, as I had been told. Yes, as we discussed, this pastime from Mahaprabhu in Puri itself, that how the Sarvam Bhattacharya, the priest, and the Gopinath Acharya, the brother-in-law of Sarvam Bhattacharya, they brought this different kinds of Mahaprasadam from Anand Bajar. But at that time, what Mahaprabhu did? Mahaprabhu offered obeisances, and then he took it on the next day. So yes, we should avoid, even if you go to this Anand Bazaar or to Puri on this day of Ekadasi, right? We don't take Anup. So we just take it and we keep it, and we can take it on the next day. Yes, so how to take care of fasting without health trouble. So if we have some chronic disease or some problems, right, like yes, we can have it with the Anukalpa Prasadam, but still, right, if some devotee is having some problem, they can consult the doctor, and especially, as I said, for really old age devotees, like more than 80, right? Yes, they can be exempted, and also if health doesn't permit, right? If, you can consult with the doctor, and if it is like, of course, doctor might say that might not understand the complete, the holistic picture. Is that okay? You can take everything, but then we can see and we can consult the devotees, right, along with the doctors, and we should do the needful. We discussed a lot about to reduce the grain, but how can we take water? Yes, as we discussed, like once the grains are there in our body, the water gets retained, right? But then this, if you take just only water or the fruit juice or fruits, it comes out of the body very quickly. The water doesn't get retained within our body. That is a difference. Okay, so the parent time, once again, it is given that how it is important to come out of that fasting, like, because this is what we hear, right, from this pastime of Ambrish Maharaj or from the Nanda Maharaj pastime, that how, right, there is a specific time how we have to follow the scriptures, right, and then so that we don't go beyond the parent time. So Ekadasi is doing a sunrise to sunset. No, as I said, Ekadasi is sunrise to sunrise, right? Sunrise to sunrise. So we don't do sunrise to sunset, or that, okay, in the dinner prasadam we can take anything. No, right? In the dinner also we can take something light like fruits or milks, or even Anukalpa prasadam also you can take it, right? We take or we break the fast only on the Dwadas morning, during the Paran time. Okay, so our Ekadasi is sunrise to sunrise, but as I said, like it's not that like before sunrise on the day of Ekadasi you can take anything. No, right? On the previous night we can take something light, grain prasadam also, but should be light, so that the next day morning during sunrise we don't have grains in our body. So yes, there are so many, astrologically also there are so many reasons why you have importance on the 11th day. Ekadasi fast means getting closer to the Lord. Yes, very good. But there are so many options to eat on Ekadasi. Is it right to eat in a way that we don't feel we are fasting? Yes, so that's what we discussed, that there are different levels of fasting, right? So But the day of Ekadasi is, it should not happen that the Mataji should be only busy in the kitchen preparing different, like dosa and idli and so many Ekadasi items, and focus on the preparing the feast for Ekadasi. But the most important thing is that how we can minimize our bodily needs, right, and increase our spiritual activities, and that is important, right? So it should not happen that right, in the name of Ekadasi, right, whole day once again we are in the kitchen, right, or whole day, right, once again we are not giving rest to our stomach or to our tongue, right? Yes, we should try to minimize, but at the same time, right, how we can be enthusiastic and energetic to perform devotional service as well. So that's why, especially Prabhupada and our Acharyas has given this. Even Mahaprabhu has also told that, yes, if you are hungry, you can take Anukalpa Prasad. This should be light. It should be, so that you can really feel that austerity a little bit, so that you should not, that, okay, the feast once again. So is there a specific month from when we should start? Most auspicious is the coming Ekadasi. Right? Yes, like right now you heard it, now you're convinced we should start right away. Right? Like is there any auspicious time to start chanting? No, start right away. Right? Why should you really look for any auspicious days? Right? Yes, the auspicious days had already gone, right? Gita Jayanti, Vaikuntha Ekadasi, Asadhi Ekadasi of last year or 2 years back, 5 years back, and all the auspicious days are already gone. But Lord has given one more auspicious day, this coming Ekadasi. So let's use that and let's start Ekadasi from the coming Ekadasi. Okay. During Ekadasi, can we do official work at office? Yes, we do the needful. So once again, I know some devotees, right, who take leave, right, to increase our spiritual activities, right, like we use our leaves in so many different ways, right, but at least few days, right, this important appearance day, disappearance day, or some festivals like Gaur Purnima, some of the days like when there is no off, right, especially all the working professionals, right, like us, we should plan our whole year, right, completely in the beginning itself, right, that okay, right, I have this number of days, this number of contingency or emergency, I'll keep it aside, right, but apart from that, how can I really, right, plan my days that okay, maybe I can take right, some days off, though it's a working day, maybe I can take off, or if it is not possible, that okay, right, I once again don't stretch myself beyond certain hours, that okay, 12 hours and 15 hours, but really focus and minimize, and for that we need to plan. We need to set that expectation also, like some of our intelligent devotees, what they do, they really block their calendar. They really block their calendar in the morning, evening, and so on that day, in the beginning of the year itself. This is the day of Ekadasi, this is the day of appearance, this is the day of festival. You block it morning, evening, and you just have minimum, open spaces, right? So that, all the meetings, all the deliverables that can be done, right? And then rest of the time, just use it, to chant more, to hear more, and to serve more. Okay. So I had doubts about how to do the first, as I recently started, but I had my doubts clarified. Thank you very much. I really pray that you get more and more conviction to follow, and then you progress more and more on this process of bhakti, and you share with others as well, especially family members, colleagues, that yes, right, we can slowly, right, and now we heard that it's not only some scriptural reasons or spiritual reasons, but also, right, some of our friends and relatives, they might also would be interested that how this telomeres and autophagy and all the scientific process, and also the effect of moon on the mind, right? Even I was also doing some research. I was really, really surprised that how there are so many things, right, are there which really affects our body, and how we should be careful, and how we should utilize our body, which is so precious, right? Yes, so you have to take care of our body. You have to keep our body healthy, and once this body is healthy, how you use it for the Lord's service. So there's a question from Parag Prabhu, like he's saying, I would like to ask one question on Dwadasi. Any prasadam sown to the Lord can be taken? Yes. So so we offer the bhoga to the Lord, and like there is a specific process, of course, through our bhav, like he says, bhaktya mam abhijanati patram puspam phalam toyami me bhaktya prayachati. So with our love and devotion, we offer that to the Supreme Lord, and we pray to our Srila Prabhupada, we pray to Mahaprabhu, and we pray to the Lord Krishna, right? Like there is a specific mantra, so we can discuss that with the devotees. They can help you in how to offer the bhoga to the Supreme Lord, and once it is offered, then right after some time we take it, which is now glanced by the Supreme Lord, right? And then we take it as a prasadam, and then yes, that we take this prasadam on during the Sparan time on Dwadasi. Yes, previous day of Ekadasi you said to eat light, but then on Ekadasi to eat fruits and light non-grain food, but then we feel weakness and sometimes we can't connect much in chanting. Yes, like as we said, like focus is on, right, to increase our chanting, hearing and serving, right, not on fasting. But if you really feel weakness, right, yes, like you can take a lot of water, right, this warm water really helps, right? And then yes, we can take fruits, fruit juices, and also it's anukalpa prasadam, as you said, right? There are so many, right, as you saw, and so many recipes are there. Definitely it can help you, keeping in the right shape to do the devotion more. But usually if you take on Dasami day, the day for Ekadasi night, Ekadasi, the night before Ekadasi, if you take too heavy, right, even if it becomes difficult to wake up also early in the morning, right? So we should keep it light. Why you should not pluck Tulasi Dalam Dwadasi? Because yes, Tulasi is also considered a devotee of the Lord, right? So after she has also done the fasting on Ekadasi, so we should not disturb her. We should give pain to her on the day of Dwadasi. That's a good question. I would like to ask one question on Dwadasi. Any prasadam should be not can be taken, or then yes, on Dwadasi, like yes, you can take anything. Of course, some devotees are there, that they take on Ekadasi complete Nirjala, and they on Dwadasi they do the right Anukalpa prasadam, right? But that's a little really on the higher side. So for us, like as we talk about to start with in this process of devotional service, yes, we take Anukalpa prasadam on the Ekadasi or on the fruits, and on the day of Dwadasi we can take, yes, right, whatever we can offer it to the Lord, we can honor it. What time we must stop eating on the day for Ekadasi? So there is no time as such, right? Like yes, we can take early dinner on the day of Dasami, so that it really helps us in proper digestion, and we don't wake up with a heavy stomach, right? And yes, out of 24 Ekadasi, are there any mandatory ones that one should prioritize? Yes, like there is the same question asked by Bhimsen to the Lord. Oh Lord, I'm Brukadar, I can't stop eating. Can you tell me one, right? And the Lord, being very mercifully, said, okay, you follow Nirjala Ekadasi at least once in a year. You don't eat and drink anything, and you just follow this Nirjala Ekadasi. But like as far as possible, right? Right, yes, we should perform this 24 Ekadasis. And yes, by praying to the Lord and the devotee, and especially Srila Prabhupada, He will empower us, He will give us a strength through which we can perform devotional service. That's why we sing Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Vala Harinama Sankirtane. The devotees are praying to the Lord, oh Lord, all alone, I don't have any strength to perform devotional service. Please, oh Gurudev, oh Srila Prabhupada, all our Acharyas, please give us the mercy, please give us the strength. And once we pray sincerely to the Lord, they will empower us, to perform devotional service. That like when the instruction comes, the empowerment also comes, the energy also comes. So let's not underestimate the mercy that is coming from the Acharyas. So once we pray it, definitely we can do it. Okay, so yes, usually on the day of Tulasi, on the day of Dwadasi, we should not pluck Tulasi. And how is fasting on the... So yes, like even on the day of Vishnu Tattva's day also, we don't take grains. And we also follow the same schedule like on Ekadasi. Okay, so I was told by one of the priests in Jagannath that you should take the prasad. I said we don't take rice, but they showed an idol Ekadasi. Yes, it's on the backside of Jagannath Mandir. Yes, so we see that how Mother Ekadasi is bound. Yes, we have seen that deity. But yes, like especially if you go to Puri, we have some good friends in Puri, right? Like they have very intimate dealings with Lord Jagannath, right? Because we are not those independent associates of Lord Jagannath. We cannot imitate, right, whatever they do, right? So it's better to follow our tradition, to follow our parampara, what exactly is taught and practiced by our acharyas, right? So we cannot go to Brajdham and follow Brajbasis, whatever they are doing, or we cannot go to Puri and do whatever the Spandas are doing, right? So we have to follow our acharyas. That's the safe process. Yes, so Tulasi plucking should not be done on Dwadasi. Okay, I was fasting with tea till now. So I know some of people usually, right, they don't or cannot survive with tea, but as we know that how tea is so addictive, and right, that's one of the regulative principles in our movement is to be free from all the addiction or the intoxications, and tea is one of them. Tea, coffee, and whatever it is. So it is better, like slowly and steadily, how we can avoid tea as well. Yeah? And then, as we discussed, right, we can take milk and we can take so many other things, right, to start with, and praying to the Lord. That really helps us, and not only on the day of Ekadasi, so we can be free from tea, every day. Okay, so this YouTube link is there. So devotees, if they would like, they can hear it again or share it with the others again. Okay, so I think we are running out of time now. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. So once again, I would really like to thank all the devotees assembled here in such a large number and giving so patiently hearing. And because it really shows that how enthusiastic you are, how sincere you are, to develop your Krishna consciousness, to progress in the bhakti. And believe me, there is nothing better than this. There cannot be better than this. And we are so fortunate. Yes, we cannot say that we are better than others, but we can say that we are more fortunate than others, that we have been given this, right, this bhakti lata bija, right, this seed of devotional service in our heart, and how we treasure it, right, and how we water it regularly, that seed, so that it really sprouts and it really grows, and really that fruit of love of God, that Krishna prem comes out, right, and we can really feel that bliss, right? Like, yes, people everywhere, they are looking for happiness, right, but they are really getting pieces and pieces, but not really getting happiness. But devotees, they really look for the bliss, they really look for the complete nectar, right, in their whole life, not only this but also, right, in the next, where, right, will be wherever the Lord desires us to go, right? And how do you really get that bliss? By getting the blessing. We get the bliss by getting the blessings, more importantly, from our acharyas, from our Guru Parampara, from our Shiksha Gurus, Diksha Gurus, from Srila Prabhupada. So by just praying sincerely, we get the bliss, because then all our knowledge gets revealed within our heart, right? And then we can practice it so sincerely, so enthusiastically. So I'm really pleased once again, and really on behalf of our ISKCON Whitefield management team, I would really like to thank, and really feel sharing the gratitude to this entire team of Bellandur, all the devotees of Bellandur, right? How you have been so sincerely practicing. And I heard from Kartikeya Prabhu that especially in this month of Gita Jayanti, in the month of December, right, like this Bellandur devotees, they could distribute more than 5,300 books of Bhagavad Gita. So I'm really honored and humbled by all of your services, and I'm sincerely praying at the lotus feet of Gandharvika Giridhari Mahaprabhu, Lord Narasimhadev, to continue to shower their infinite blessings on all of you, so that you take this process very sincerely, and you be an instrument as well in sharing this Krishna consciousness with others. I heard that there's so many devotees who have given Sastradhan of 25 books, 40 books, right, 108 books, even 250 books, right? It's really shows how much you are really inspired and encouraged and nourished, right, by this process of Krishna consciousness. Yes, it is not a theoretical or a mystical process. It is a practical process. Su sukham kartum abhyayam. And we have seen that so many devotees have practiced this and have really benefited it. And because of that, all the smiling devotees who are, I see here in this group as well, how they have been distributing so nicely, right? And I hear that, like, yes, in this Gita course as well, for the last 15 seasons, there are more than 300 devotees have been participating so consistently, right? That is important. It's not that, okay, otherwise what happens, okay, I attend first session, third session, and once again fifth session, okay, and the last session. No, I hear that all of you have been regularly, consistently, so enthusiastically, participating. Though, as we said in the beginning, you are just getting a glimpse of what is Krishna conscious movement is all about. You're just getting just only the katha part of it. But the main important thing, like, yes, coming together and chanting and then dancing and then feasting, you are yet to get it. So, you cannot really understand, right, what exactly you are about to get once things will get improved. And once you come in the session of the devotees, and then what you do, chanting, dancing, and feasting. I really look forward to it. So please hold on, please have a little bit more patience, and then definitely more bliss is awaited, right? And more importantly, I'm also very inspired by this follow-up team, right? Like all these mentors and this, like more than 65 devotees, they have been following up to make this Gita course success, right? I'm also very thankful to all of them. And with this, I see that because all our, like we hear from Srila Prabhupada and Laura, the progress in our spiritual success can be measured by our chanting. And I see that all of you have started chanting. So we have started chanting even 16 rounds, like what Prabhupada they said, minimum we should chant 16 rounds. Some of you have started chanting 16 rounds, some of you have 4 rounds, and most of you, or all of you, have started in minimum 1 round. So it's a very, very heartening to hear all that, right? So once again, I'm very, very thankful and very humbled to hear how you have been practicing it so sincerely. Right, so once again, I'm thankful to Kartikeya Prabhu, or Krishna Karunamurti Prabhu, and Sri Ram Prabhu, and all of you for giving me an opportunity to glorify on this important limb of devotional service, to perform Ekadasi with sincerity. So let's remember this. The most important is, yes, we should do the fasting, but most importantly, we should increase our devotional service on this day of Ekadasi, so that we can get closer to the Supreme Lord by chanting more, by hearing more, and by serving more. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So now we'll proceed for our chanting session. So I think Krishna Karunamurti Prabhu or Sri Ram Prabhu, so they can help us. So maybe we can just do a short meditation, like we talked about how we do this chanting together. So now all of the devotees, maybe you can close your eyes, right? And then you think that, okay, you are in one of your favorite temple, right? Like in Gandharvika Giridhari temple, or in our any ISKCON temple, or any other Vishnu temple. And closing your eyes, you can see that beautiful deity there, with the tulasi garland, with the jasmine garland, with the lotus garland, being very beautifully decorated. And then you are there with now, right, 200s of or 300s of devotees all around, all smiling and so blissfully, meditating on the Supreme Lord. And then everybody, starts chanting, completely focusing on hearing the name of the Lord, taking shelter of the Lord, being absorbed on the holy name of the Lord, right? Thinking nothing else, just chanting and hearing and praying from the heart. So with that, let's start our chanting of the holy name. So before chanting, yes, we take the mercy, we take the causeless blessings of Panchatattva by praying to them. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So let's start chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna,